I'm Kobe Killen from K&K Authentic, and today I'm with NHL former player David Ling. Thank you very much for coming on to talk to me today.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
So, what age did you start playing hockey?
Well, I started skating around 2 and organized around 5. I had an older brother, so I was up. We were always, I'm from the East Coast, and we were always just on the ice, pond hockey or in the rink. But my brother's 2 years older, so I was kind of dragged along early.
Oh yeah, so your parents always driving you guys to games and practices and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is there a certain player like you had, like that you had like admired growing up, like an idol, like a hockey idol?
You know, I grew up Detroit Red Wing fan because there was a local Gerard Gallant who was from PEI who was playing on Detroit at the time. And I grew to love Stevie Yzerman on the Red Wings. I really enjoyed watching his skill and the way he carried himself.
Yeah, he's a legend, that's for sure. So you were drafted in the second round to Kingston Frontenacs of the OHL. And in your rookie year, you had 17 goals, 63 points, 275 penalty minutes, and you're voted onto the second all-rookie team. What was it like playing on the OHL?
It was a dream. I'm from the East Coast. We didn't at that time we didn't have Major Junior, so it seemed like it was a far distance away. But then I watched the OHL. I wanted to be in the OHL. And I went away. I was playing junior back home here when I was 14. So I was playing against older players before I went there, which I think gave me an advantage. And my coach back here was Forby Kennedy, who was an ex-fighter in the NHL, and he molded me into a way where I had to stick up. I was going to be smaller. I had to stick up for myself. I had to fight
Yeah,
and I did that and gained some room. My first year, I don't know if I won too many fights, but I showed up.
yeah, for sure. You like put your name on the map, I guess, right? So so you were living in Halifax then. Like, did you have to move to Ontario, like when you were drafted, or were you already living in Ontario?
No, I did go from Halifax to PEI, and I kind of grew up in PEI, but I went away to St. Mike's at 16 and ended up playing half a year there and coming back home to PEI. And then at that time, because we didn't have major junior in the province, we were able to pick. We had to pick of the three leagues, and I didn't want to play in the Quebec League at the time. I didn't know French, and the Western League was too far away. And I admired the players coming out of the OHL.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you won the Red Tilson too at 94 and 95, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And you also got your jersey number retired, right?
yeah. That was then that happened about 10 years ago, which was a great honor. Like I had 3 great years in Kingston, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you said you didn't want to go to Quebec because of the French thing, but then you got drafted by the Nordiques. So was that kind of cool? Like, what was the feeling when you got drafted?
Oh, and I don't mean it was. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a French thing. It was more. I'm not an Eric Lindros, but it was more. I didn't know the language. I was
Oh,
16. I was going to be going away from home, and I thought it would be easier to transition for me to survive as a teenager in a different place. Anyway, being drafted by Quebec, the draft was in Quebec in '93, and it was surreal. It was a dream come true. I didn't know if I went to the draft. I didn't know for sure if I was going to get drafted, and I did. It was a big man's game back then, and I was smaller, so I didn't know if I was going to, but I ended up getting taken then.
yeah. Did you have to learn some French then?
Well, yeah, the older you get, the more words you
Yeah,
learn.
for sure. So you went from Quebec to Colorado as they relocated, then to Calgary, then Montreal, and that's my team. So what was it like to finally get your NHL debut after like kind of going from different cities and stuff?
Well, it was surreal. I the much it was it was hockey night in Canada. It was against Boston Bruins,
Oh,
and
that's
my
it.
dad was there, and it was surreal. It's a dream come true. I was so nervous in the pregame skate. I remember not even being able to make a pass, and then stepping on the ice Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins. It was awesome.
So you got to play in the Bell Center then.
Yep.
So that was
It's actually when I was playing in the minors in Fredericton with Montreal, and we ended up getting to play the second last game in the Forum. We played Friday, and the last game was Saturday. It was an American League game Friday, but we still got to play the second last game.
You got a favorite between the two, the Bell Center or the Forum? Both are pretty historical places.
The new rinks around the whole league are awesome, but the old ones have the history, and
Oh yeah.
you grow up watching them, so it's to play in them in some of those older rinks was awesome too.
I got a little something from the Forum behind me. Let's see if I can grab that off quick. I got like the signed brick from Patrick Waugh from the Forum.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
oh,
I actually have a chair. I
oh
got that
yeah.
in
Oh,
auction. Yeah, one of the
that's on my
seat.
list. I need to get one of those because my Montreal diehard fan. So I might have to get your puck signed too for the collection too.
There's there's my jersey behind me, the Montreal one.
Oh, that's awesome. That's quite a thing.
And I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but the picture in the bottom right is me hitting Ray Bork,
Oh,
and that was
really?
in the Gazette the next day. So it was awesome, like
Yeah.
coming from the East Coast and just that experience.
Yeah, I met Ray too in London. He was a pretty nice guy too. He was showing off his auctioneer kind of voice. It was kind of funny. He was like a London dinner auction thing we were at, so he was like kind of a guy. Did you guys talk much or?
Yeah, no, I met him a couple times, but the picture looks like I'm hitting him and I'm getting the better of him. But
Oh
he was
yeah.
so big and thick that I just bounced off him and fell down. But
Oh yeah. That's awesome. So you went to Chicago, then Dallas, then Columbus, where you got to play over 90 games in over 3 seasons from 2001 to 2004. So what was it like finally getting the first NHL goal?
oh, it was surreal. It doesn't. Your first when you get drafted is your biggest moment. Then when you play your first game, it's the biggest moment, and then when you score a goal, it's your biggest moment. So it was it was awesome. It was a I remember it was a rebound, and I went to the net and put it 5 hole. But one of my 4 goals is against Patrick Waugh, which
Oh,
is
really?
I didn't get many, but I got one.
That's awesome. That's quite a thing. And you get to tell that for the rest of your life. That's awesome. So through all the places that you
Yeah.
did play, like NHL, like OHL, whatever, is there a certain place that you enjoyed the most?
Well, the NHL when I was in Columbus for the parts of 3 years, because you're in the NHL, it was awesome. But I was all over the world, and every town and every city has positives, and because you're away from home, it has negatives. So every place played, I didn't play very long in many cities. In Syracuse, I played 3 or 4 years. Columbus, I played 2 or 3 years. So I wasn't in cities very long, which sometimes benefits you, but
Yeah.
there's pros to everywhere. There was pros to Russia, there was pros to Indianapolis, Kansas City. There was pros and cons to everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Yeah, quite a resume. Like I was kind of like reading through it all, like a lot of fights on there too. I was like watching a few of them. It was pretty awesome. Did you have
Yeah,
a favorite fight?
my buddies bug me on how long my hockey DB is.
Oh yeah. Did you have a favorite fight though? Like out of all those fights you've ever had?
Well, the one that got the most press is the one where I broke Derek Morris's orbital bone
Yeah.
with Columbus. So that got the most press, but you never want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have a favorite hockey story like throughout your entire career, like wherever you played? Is there a favorite story that you have like that you like to tell the most?
I don't, I was a character guy. I have tons of stories, some that I can't tell, but
Yeah.
when I reflect, it's all about my time in the NHL. That was my dream growing up, and
Yeah.
it was fun playing the American League. It was fun playing in Europe, but nothing is better than the NHL. Like it was they treat you better. You stay in better hotels, and hockey and the money's better. So
Yeah.
it is all better.
Yeah. So I have another question here. So who's your favorite teammate have you had? Like the best teammate you think you had, like it boosted you and
You know, I the best the best guys that I had friends with was a guy. His name's Colin Murphy. He was a minor leaguer and played in Toronto's farm team, and then Daryl Scoville was in Syracuse. Those are 2 guys that I stay in touch with. But when I was with Columbus, watching Rick Nash and Andrew Castles and Jeff Sanderson, those guys, those are the best teammates, the best players, the skill level. There's a gap between the top NHLers and the bottom NHLers, and I just had fun watching the best.
yeah. So what's it like playing with Rick Nash? Like I've heard he's just like a guy like gets the team going and stuff like that. So
Yeah, when he came in, he was a rookie. He was 18, and he was so good then. But he still had baby fat, so you got to watch him develop into a man. But he was surreal right from 18. He was 6'5", 4, 6'3", 6'4", and his long reach, and he could score goals.
Yeah, yeah, he's had quite a year too, or quite a year, quite a career, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I think that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you kind of want to like talk about or anything about your career?
No, that's good. But anytime you want to do it again, I'm here. And
Sounds great. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
thanks, Kobe. Good luck.
Take care.
Bye bye.